Good afternoon. My name is Sheila Lamb, and I'm with the Virginia SBDC Network. For those of you who are not familiar with our organization, the Virginia Small Business Development Center is a partnership program between the U.S. Small Business Administration, George Mason University, and local host institutions throughout Virginia. With 26 locations across the Commonwealth, we provide training and technical assistance to small businesses and their local communities. Our one-on-one advising services are available at no charge. Today's webinar, Success Through E-Commerce, is presented by the Virginia SBDC Network. Save the date for our next webinar in the Digital Bootcamp series, Mobile Apps, How to Plan, Execute, and Launch on February 25th at noon. I'll drop that link into the chat momentarily. We are recording today's presentation, and it will be posted on our website, virginiasbdc.org. Due to the large number of participants, everyone's microphone is muted and the chat feature is turned off. But if you have questions during the presentation, you can type those into the Q&A box, and we will adjust those at the end of the session. We have also enabled the live transcript function, which you can show or hide via your own meeting controls. And now it is my pleasure to introduce our presenter for today's session, Cameron Nelson, CEO of Tenzing Startup Consultants. Cameron has over 20 years of experience in technology and as a senior tech consultant in Silicon Valley, helping Fortune 500 companies improve their digital marketing and e-commerce. At the same time, he founded several tech companies, including a software as a service website for tree preservation and a blockchain platform for nonprofits. Cameron is accomplished in language, culture, has an MBA and MA, and believes new technology products have the ability to shape our world for the better. Please join me in welcoming our presenter for today, Cameron Nelson.
Thank you for the introduction, and hello everybody. Welcome to this session on success through e-commerce. I think this is an important topic as we move more and more to a digital selling age where people are finding products to buy online and interacting with your brand and your products primarily online. Now, whether or not you also have a physical location like a brick and mortar store and you sell some of your products online, or maybe you're completely an online focused business, this presentation today will cover a lot of the tactics and strategies, especially relevant in the year 2025 as we move into a lot of exciting things. There's AI happening that's shifting a lot of the way that e-commerce works. And we're going to be learning about some of these different changes and how you can be the most successful with your e-commerce business. I hope that you all have a couple of questions for me at the end, so feel free to type those into the QA box as we go, and we'll get to as many of them as we can. So with that, let's jump right into it. We have 3 goals for the bootcamp today. The first goal is to learn what website and e-commerce platform works best for you and your business, because a website is a critical part of an e-commerce strategy. So we're going to be talking about the implications of different platforms with your website. Secondly, I'm going to show you how to set up and how do you establish your online store and list your products effectively. And third, we're going to look at how do you refine your strategy. So after you launch your store, what can you implement to maximize your profits? So as I mentioned, a well-rounded e-commerce strategy will definitely have an aspect of your own website. So this is going to be something like www.yourbusiness.com. If you don't already have a domain name for your business, it's probably a good idea to start thinking about what domain names are available. You can do some research to look them up. And you're going to spend about $20 a year for your domain name. Well, once you have a domain name established and bought, you're going to decide what level of website you want and really what you need to make you an effective seller online. So a level 1 website is a very basic level website that's only going to be a very simple site with no e-commerce capabilities, meaning you won't be able to take a credit card payment on this kind of a site. It can work for a very simple business that just sells a service. Maybe it's more of a brochure for your business online than an actual e-commerce site, and in some cases this would be sufficient. But for most businesses here that are looking to get into e-commerce, a level 2 website is really the minimum level that you should be considering. This level website has links to external pages where you can buy the products you want to sell. So, for example, if you're selling them on Amazon or Etsy or eBay or some other third-party site, your website here would link to those. So again, you're not taking the credit card payments on your website, but you're linking to a third-party site for those shopping capabilities. A level 3 or robust level website integrates those shopping capabilities and that checkout page and the shopping cart all onto your own website, which is nice because it gives your brand a bit more polish and a bit higher reputation online, and you're able to usually charge a bit higher premium for your products. You can also do things like integrate social media pages and live feeds from your Facebook or Instagram if you have those onto the website. So it really enhances your ability to sell your products and to generate more revenue online. Lastly, we have a level 4 website, and this is really an advanced level website that not every business would need, but if you have the need for advanced shopping capabilities, like you need a lot of videos for your products, or you want to have referral packages or subscriptions that you offer, you might need to invest in a level 4 website to enable these types of features. So next we're going to look at what you need to upgrade if you're already at a level website and you have that website already, or if you're just getting started, these are the considerations that you'd want to be aware of. A level 1 website is typically a free level website you can get. Again, there's not much customization you can do on these sites, but you can look at a place like Wix, Squarespace, or Weebly to build you a free or very low cost basic website. Also, if you're set up as a seller on a major platform like Shopify, Etsy, or Amazon, they let you customize your e-commerce page to some extent, and in some cases, this could be considered your website. But again, it's kind of the most basic entry level. For most businesses here, you'd want to at least move up to a level 2 website. This is going to allow you to customize the look and the feel of your site much more to really hone in on the messaging for your target customer. But you'll link to the third-party site like Shopify, Etsy, or Amazon to complete the checkout process. A level 3 or robust level website is often an investment of around $2,000 to $9,000, just depending on the features and how many pages your website needs. And this will allow you to target your market with much greater customization and use some more advanced techniques on your website to really boost the conversion rate or the number of people who visit your site and then buy a product. And some ways this happens is by unique landing pages. So you can have a separate page on the website for each different marketing or ad campaign. So people who click on an ad will go to a specific page custom tailored to those needs. And you can also do what's called A/B testing, where you have a slight variation between two otherwise identical pages, like the color of the checkout button is different. And over time, you can see which color or other variable you're testing for results in the most conversions. So all of these types of things are available on a robust website. An advanced level website is the most useful if you have a very complex product you need to sell. So it could come in lots of variations. Or maybe your customers just need more incentive to buy, so maybe they need to see more videos or video reviews of it. This type of website will typically cost between $8,000 and $45,000, and it can enable just about anything your imagination can think of, including your video sales, geolocating your customers where they are, subscription models, your user login and their dashboard, etc. So hopefully now you have some idea of what level website you should be looking at for your business to enable what you're trying to sell online. Next, I want to look at what are the costs and operating expenses, just so you're aware before you get into a website, what can you expect to be paying month over month and year over year to maintain it? So the first expense here is the hosting expense. Again, you're going to buy your domain name. It's about $20 a year. It does vary a little bit depending on where you buy it and what the name is. But then you're going to pay a hosting fee to host the website. And this is the computer or server that hosts the files of your website and serves those up to website visitors. For a basic level website, you can expect to spend just about $50 a year for this. And you see that can scale all the way up to around $250 a year for an advanced level website that has more pages and more content. The second cost is your email. Now you can get the cheapest email that I've ever seen for a dollar a month or $12 a year. And this will be something like contact@yourbusiness.com. And it's a very good way. You don't want to stick with some free email address like it at a Gmail because it doesn't look professional as your business grows. So I'd recommend you at least get one at your domain name. And if you want to get a better email address for around $75 a year, you can get a Google powered email address, which means it all runs through the Gmail servers and you have the Gmail interface to use. And along with that, you get access to all the Google apps like the Calendar and Google Meet and Google Docs, which can be a great value add for your business. And you do get all of that for $75 a year. So I'd highly recommend if you're already going to invest in a level 3 or 4 website to invest also in the email address powered by Google. The next category of expenses are paid ads, or essentially promoting your website. So once you built a great website, you need to get enough people coming to it so you can sell your products. If you just have a basic level website, I don't typically recommend that paid ads are a good expenditure. Rather, I would encourage you to invest in at least building a minimum level website. But if you want to have a paid ads campaign with a minimum level website, the minimum you can really get by with is $100 a month. So expect about $1,200 a year. And that's mainly going to be spent on platforms like Google, Facebook/Instagram. You could even consider YouTube ads or TikTok if it's still around. We don't know. That's kind of pending right now. So there are different places to spend your ad budget. And you can see, businesses that have invested in advanced level websites consistently spend over $10,000 a year in their advertising. So no matter where you are with the revenue and the scale of your business, you can see kind of what ad spend you might be looking at. The next category of expense is the development cost. So this means hiring a independent developer or a small firm to actually build your website for you. Now, I do think everybody here can build a basic level 1 website themselves, and probably everybody can build a minimum level website as well, just with, 10 or 20 hours to learn about a platform like WordPress or a different one like Wix or Squarespace. You don't need to hire a separate developer, even if you've never built a website before. But for some people who just don't have the time to learn or the inclination, this is the range of development costs you can expect to spend to hire a developer to help you set up that website. And the last cost here that you'll need to consider is what's called SSL, which is Secure Socket Layer, and it is an encryption that encrypts credit card data entered onto your website as it's in transit to the Visa network or the MasterCard or Discover networks. If you just have a level 1 or 2 website, you're not actually taking credit card payments on it, so you don't need to worry about this. But if you're at a level 3 or 4, you can expect to spend around $100 a year for this certified kind of encryption layer. So hopefully this gives you a good idea of the expenses you'll incur as you build and maintain your business's website, which again is an integral part of your strategy online. Some businesses will sell just with one of these 5 major platforms. They sell your product on one of these. And that's fine typically, but one story of caution that I'll tell is a few years ago, I was working with a pasta maker in Central Virginia, and they made these handmade pastas that were dry, so they shipped them in boxes and they sold exclusively on Amazon. And when I met with them, they were selling over 100,000 a month in revenue on Amazon. So they were happy, they were growing. But after a couple of months, they found there was a copycat brand that actually ripped off their packaging, their logo, made an inferior pasta, and it literally sold it kind of and posing as them. So they contacted Amazon saying there's a counterfeiter, and Amazon didn't really take it seriously and they never did anything about it. So this business was losing a ton of their revenue to this counterfeiter, and they had to pivot and build out their own website and their own e-commerce shopping. But they lost a lot of money in the months and months it took to make that transition. So, as a cautionary tale, you don't want to be too dependent on just one e commerce platform. Anything could happen, and if your 100% of your revenue is derived from any one of these, it could come back and bite you for a variety of reasons. So I encourage you to invest in a website that is it as you build up your business, your website will take a more and more percentage of your sales going through your website. This is good because you have more control and you also make a higher profit margin on your website. You don't pay the fees that all of these charge. But a lot of businesses will choose to sell on their website and one or more of these. So we're going to talk through these because these are the 5 biggest e-commerce platforms. And it's good to know what your options are. And if you decide to sell on one of these, well, what are the pros and the cons? So the first one on this list is Shopify. Shopify is a huge e-commerce platform that sells a variety of things. They charge between $9 and $79 per month, plus a transaction fee, which can range between being free and around 2%. And we'll talk more about how it's free later on. It's extremely easy to set up, and it offers one-click selling, so you don't need to go through a lot of time to post your products. But it doesn't allow you to customize the checkout process very much. And you'll see this is a common theme if you opt for one of these, say, third-party e-commerce platforms. They're simple, but they have limitations, which you might run into. The second one is Etsy, which charges a 6.5% transaction fee, plus a 20-cent fee per item, and then in addition, a 3% payment processing fee for the credit cards. They're focused on handmade and vintage items. So if you're selling something in this category, Etsy is a great place because your customers are probably already coming here to look to buy what you're selling. It's also very easy to set up an account and post your products for sale. Next is Facebook Shops. Facebook Shops is not quite the same as Facebook Marketplace. Facebook Marketplace is more for people who are looking to sell a used item that's just they have one of, but Facebook Shops is a fully built out e-commerce platform. So if you have multiples of the same item and you're looking to sell and ship them, this is a fit. They charge a 5% sales fee or a 40-cent fee per item if it's shipping at $8 or less, and it's geared towards small businesses and merchants. And I think a big benefit of Facebook Shops is that it uses Facebook essentially, and that has over 2.5 billion users. So it's actually the world's second largest search engine after Google. So people go to Facebook all the time looking for services or goods to buy. And if you're listed here, then you have a chance of showing up. If you're already using Facebook for your business, then it's a natural and easy way to sell your products. However, if you're not already using Facebook and you're not in line with their privacy policies, well, essentially they will, use whatever data they collect on you and even sell it to other parties, and you don't have control over that. If you don't like that policy, then you would probably want to stay away from Facebook because they're pretty well known for doing that. Next is Amazon, which is the world's largest e-commerce platform. Their price is $1 per item or $40 a month, plus a fulfillment fee that can range between $2 and $6. One nice thing about Amazon that's unique to them is that they'll warehouse your products for you. And I've helped multiple businesses who have got set up on Amazon, and they find it pretty convenient to be able to mail Amazon a whole box or a whole pallet full of a product. I mean, you can send them a couple or a couple thousand, and they will put them on shelves and they will ship them for you. They will handle your returns if somebody returns it. They'll do a lot of the processing for you, but they'll charge you a higher fulfillment fee for doing that. And Amazon has a really good shopping process, especially if it's more of a complex item that comes in multiple sizes or shapes or colors, things like shoes or clothing. Amazon has the best way, I think, of customers locating the exact product they're looking for. So Amazon can be a good choice if you have something that's a bit more complex like that. Now, Amazon Handmade was created a few years ago to compete really with Etsy, and they actually charge a 15% fee on all sales, so they're probably the most expensive one here. And they also give you the same all Amazon experience, which makes shopping very easy. And before you can sell here, you actually need to submit an artisan application, which Amazon takes very seriously. Last time I went through this process about 6 months ago, involving several phone calls, video, interviews, you name it. They want to make sure they're getting legitimate, high quality products on Amazon Handmade. So hopefully now you have an idea of which platform or platforms would work best for you to sell your products on, again, in conjunction with your own website as being kind of the primary portal that you're focusing on for e-commerce sales. What I'd like to do now is briefly look at the home pages of these five so you can get a better idea of who they're marketing their platform to and see if it's a good fit for you. So Shopify advertises themselves as the global commerce platform and that you can build your business with Shopify to sell online, offline, and in between. So Shopify also has very convenient physical credit card swipers that they will give to you and link to your account so you can track your inventory, whether it's selling in your brick and mortar, at a farmer's market, or on your website, not through your Shopify. It's all one inventory system, one payment system, one billing system. So Shopify does try to make it easy. Um, and it also has an extensive app marketplace. So when you're building a website on Shopify, kind of building your business's page, there's an app marketplace which can give you additional features, without you having to spend a lot of money to hire a developer, so that's a plus. Shopify also has a unique feature where they allow people to create NFTs, which some of you might have heard of. It was a buzzword at least last year. We'll see how much it kind of sticks around this year, but it's part of the blockchain, something akin to Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. But with NFTs, if you're selling something digital, such as art, music, videos, things like that, you can create a unique token that's only, well, can only be one in the world, and you can sell that. And Shopify actually helps you do that. So if you're selling anything that's of a digital variety, I would encourage you to check out this link at the bottom, shopify.com/NFT, because they're really the only major e-commerce platform that has a focus on this. And for some people, they find it very convenient and a good way to sell their digital products. Next up is Etsy. And we can see by looking at some of the categories they have here what they're focused on helping you sell. Well, you have Father's Day gifts, so definitely seasonal gifts, jewelry and accessories, clothing, home, weddings, toys, arts, craft supplies. And so all of these categories, people come to Etsy looking for these types of products. So these niche markets are very popular here. It's also very easy to set up your store on Etsy. And it gives you helpful seller tools, and we'll talk about more of those in a moment, how kind of AI is being integrated in these platforms to help you as the seller get more sales. But if you're selling an arts and crafts type product or in any of these categories, Etsy can be a really good choice to sell your product. The next one is Facebook Shops. And again, very closely integrated with the Facebook ecosystem. You have a very large access to the over 2.5 billion users. If you're using Facebook already, it's easy to integrate your Facebook page for your business with your Facebook shop. You can have customizable storefronts, or essentially, like the picture at the top where you've got some shirts on a rack. You can really set the tone of your page and how you sell your products. And they give you access to analytics and insights. Pretty much all of these platforms do that to some extent, but I find Facebook Shops has a particularly good ability to track data. Of course, that's what they're really good at, and tell you some insights into your shopper behavior. So maybe, you have 10 products for sale, and one page gets 90% of your views, one product, but almost nobody ever buys that product. And so you might find that there was a pricing problem, it was too high, or some other problem with the description. So these insights can be really invaluable as you work to scale up your business. We all know Amazon is the world's largest e-commerce platform. They offer those fulfillment services, like I mentioned, so super convenient if you're trying to start your e-commerce business, get it off the ground. You don't want to have a garage, warehouse, or living room full of your product. I know I've met business owners that are in that situation, and sometimes they prefer to have Amazon fulfill the shipping needs for them. And of course, with part of that, if the buyer is on Amazon Prime, then they're getting that Prime level shipping, which is something is hard to beat with the other platforms. You as the seller end up paying a lot for shipping, whereas Amazon has a really good shipping network. So people do prefer to buy on Amazon. That's one of the key reasons. And Amazon gives you advertising tools, and we've all seen this where there's a sponsored product. So essentially, you can pay money if you want your product to be at the top of search results, and Amazon does sell that as a tool. So Amazon is also great if you're selling the shoes or the clothing that comes in different sizes or colors to help your customer find exactly what they're looking for. And last is Amazon Handmade. And we can see some of the categories they're helping you sell in are jewelry, home decor, kitchen and dining, beauty and grooming, and pet supplies. So anything, if you're an artisan making something by hand, then this is a logical place. Now they do charge that pretty high fee, but it does ensure that they have a high kind of integrity with Amazon Handmade. And they also will handle the fulfillment fees for you. And they don't charge a listing fee, just a flat 15% on all of your sales. So in some situations, Amazon Handmade can be a really good choice for businesses. So now that we've looked at the 5 top e-commerce platforms, I'm going to talk a little bit about how do you set up your e-commerce store. Now, this process will be about the same no matter which platform you choose. First, we're going to talk about how do you find a product to sell. Secondly, how do you customize your e-commerce template? And third, how do you add your products so you can get the most sales? So when you're looking for a product to sell, ask yourself these questions. Does it solve a customer pain point? And the bigger the pain it's solving, the more likely you're going to be able to sell that effectively online. Does it appeal to an enthusiast or hobbyist crowd? And if so, then Amazon Handmade or Etsy could be logical choices to sell it. Does it go with a personal passion and build on your own professional and personal experience? You need every advantage you can get, so having some unique insight from your background will definitely help you market and sell your product better. Can you capitalize on trends early? And one way to find trends is you can read customer reviews on existing products you're thinking about selling and see what people like and also don't like about the product. And it can give you some ideas of where you want to build your own product and where you want to position it. Litmus test before you launch means don't go and post 100 products that are all in the same category. Let's say you're making pet supplies, maybe you make handmade dog collars out of leather. You probably don't want to take photos and write descriptions of 100 different styles of dog collar before you know that the dog you know how to sell a dog collar. So you might go and you might create some dog items, some cat items, have a variety and kind of test the waters a little bit. And then as you find over the next few months what's selling the best, you can then expand your offering in those categories appropriately. You can browse what's trending on online marketplaces, and Amazon tells you what the number one seller is in categories every day. There's also third-party sites that track and analyze selling data from Amazon and other platforms. One that's pretty popular is called Camel Camel Camel. That's just like the animal just three times over. And that's .com, camelcamelcamel.com. And that's a platform that shows you some pretty interesting analytics and data about trends on online shopping. You should always research and try to sell products with a higher profit margin because you're going to be in a very competitive space where one of the main differentiating factors is the price. And so people are usually, if they can't tell the difference in quality between your product and another, price will often be the deciding factor. So you might need to lower your prices compared to selling in a physical form. So keep that in mind. And always be on the lookout for new trends and opportunities because there's a lot of competition online and your competitors will definitely be also on the lookout. So once you've decided which product or products you're going to sell, here's how you will set up your e-commerce template or that starting page that you'll be presented with on any of these e-commerce sites. They'll give you a range of feature-packed and modern-looking templates for you to start with. When you're looking through them, ask yourself these questions to find the right template. What features do you want your store to have? So maybe you've got a great video you really want to show off. You'll definitely want to find a template that has a video spot up at the top. What style of home page do you want? Do you want it to be minimalistic, very colorful? Who's your target market and what appeals to them? You want to have done some market research if you haven't already. And how do you want your customers to move around your store? Do you want to have your products in different categories that are linked to at the top, or is everything just in one page? Think about the navigation. Now, once you've decided on an e-commerce template, customizing it is easy because you can change just about anything, such as your text size and the font, the colors of the site. Of course, you can replace the images with your own, move around positioning of the products. You can edit the features in the description of your products, and always a good idea to embed any social media links if you have those accounts set up and are active on them because people might not decide to buy your product the first time they see it. They might want to do a little bit more research. They'll go to your Facebook page, see if you've been active, see what your customers are saying about your products there, and then make the decision. So you want to help them by embedding your social media links on your template. When it comes time to adding your products, the key things you're going to need to have ready are the name of the product, the price, the category it goes under, the weight for any physical products, or that digital file for anything that's a downloadable item that you're selling. The three things that can really make a great product and help you sell your products online are the description, the images, and the categories. So first, talking about the description, you need to write a description that's convincing, but there's a few things you should also be avoiding. Don't use complex jargon or abbreviations. You can't always assume that everybody will understand what an abbreviation is, so almost always spell out any abbreviations. Don't use any cliches. They just don't help you sell a product. Instead, be more original and creative in your descriptions. And avoid using long sentences or even multiple paragraphs. Research done about the top selling products on Amazon recently showed that the trend was about 3 to 4 sentences of text followed by several bullet points, up to 5. So that is a good formula to follow. People are not going to have the time typically to read multiple paragraphs of description, but I see this all the time on e-commerce sites. It's much more effective to shorten that. Let your pictures do the talking. If you have a video, let your video do the talking. People typically don't have the time or attention to read long descriptions. Another key way to differentiate your products and help you sell more effectively online is to take good product images. Over here on the left is an example of a photography light box. This is a very simple setup. You can buy yourself online for around $50. What it does is gives you a neutral white background and consistent lighting sources that kind of remove any dark shadows and don't have any distracting backgrounds. So you can position your products here and take photos of them from a very consistent and well-lit angle. You, of course, never want to use a product photo that looks blurry or pixelated. You want to make sure each product photo is the same size and resolution, so the dimensions are the same. You can definitely be taking your own photos. Very rarely will you need to hire a professional. If you have a more recent smartphone, you'll be able to take photos that should look just fine. You can, of course, buy a more expensive DSLR professional camera, but in many cases, this won't be necessary. Some e-commerce platforms and your own website might support things like a 360-degree rotation view, which we've probably all seen. It lets you kind of look around an object, and this can be a great way to let people see what's on the other side. And you can also include product variation images. So if you're selling, say, boots that come in different textures or patterns or colors, that you want to make sure there's an image of every different variation so your customer knows exactly what they're going to get. And you can easily optimize images by using your free tools. So if you take an image right off of your smartphone, it's going to be probably around 5 megabytes. And this is a very, very large image to use for e-commerce. And the problem is that if you have multiple images of this size, people on slower internet connections will have a very slow time loading your page. And if that happens, it can just cause them to leave before they even see the images. And also, it will negatively impact your search engine optimization score because Google and the other search engines will see your page takes a very long time to load. And so they will give it a worse ranking, which means it's less likely to come up in a search result. So for those reasons, you want to make sure that your images are not the original 5 megabytes, but compress them down to around 100 or 200 kilobytes in size for the optimal loading experience. Here's some examples of really good product images and some different ideas that you can incorporate into creating your images for selling online. First, we have a dimension image. In this case, it's a little cat holder for an Alexa. And this has a scale so somebody can see exactly how big this is in relation to, a ruler. They can measure it out in inches. The second one is a comparison chart, which will just compare the highlights of your product versus your competitors in a very simple and easy to understand way. The third one is a 3D image or an infograph. Now in this one, they've mixed two together. 3D images can be useful if you have something that's hidden inside, not in plain sight. That's kind of the secret to your product's success, and you want to show that off. And infographs are just a nice visual way so people don't have to read so much text, but they kind of have that image along to help them remember the highlights. In addition, popular styles of images are things like the creation process, a scale shot showing it usually on a person or in whatever situation makes sense, just to show the relative scale of it. And if you have many products that are very, very similar, you can have just a group shot. In this case, there's 4 soaps or hand lotions, And you can just have one product image on all four of these product pages because they're so similar. So now that we've talked about what makes great product descriptions, product images, I wanted to focus a little bit about a question that I've been getting more and more recently last year, and a trend that's accelerating in 2025, which is that 46% of online consumers are more likely to purchase from companies that support environmental or social causes. So there's a strong preference for brands with a sustainable focus. So how can you position yourself as a brand with a sustainable focus to capitalize on this? Almost 50% of consumers are looking for this. Well, there's a few key ways. You can talk about you can implement sustainable practices. And as you do these items, of course, you're going to be talking about this on your website or on your product descriptions. So are you sourcing ethically? Are you using eco-friendly packaging? Or are you using eco-friendly and environmentally sound manufacturing processes? And you can go into more detail in your target market and what this really means for your products. There's a couple of key benefits to implementing sustainable practices and talking about it to your target customer. That is increasing brand loyalty and making you more competitive in the market. And so what you need to do if you want to be focused on building a sustainable brand online is you need to communicate your efforts. So even better than a text description would be photographs of your ethical sourcing or eco-friendly packaging. And even better than that would be video content. So you can see it might take a little bit of effort, but you can communicate those efforts and really reap the rewards of a higher conversion rate of your products. And as always in selling online, you need to evaluate your efforts and adjust. If you were an eco-focused business a year or two ago, what you would have been doing and the way you would have been describing it would be different than you would right now. So you always need to evaluate your approach and your tactics and adjust them and update them because customer needs change every year or more frequently. So you want to be on top of these trends. Another very large trend in e-commerce selling is AI. And AI is being used across all of these platforms, as well as helping you build websites and about every facet of e-commerce right now. And this is only going to accelerate as we get further into 2025 and probably in the foreseeable future. Some of the key ways that AI is helpful to you selling online is that it can analyze customer data, enhance customer satisfaction, and increase your conversion rate by providing a tailored shopping experience. So what that means is that it's matching up people's search queries with the products they're more likely looking for. And each platform is doing this in their own unique way. So with Shopify, they're personalizing the product recommendations based on the person's purchase history, browsing history, and then matching it up with all of the details it knows about your products and your business. So again, if that person they know is an eco-focused consumer, and you got on your Shopify page and your business website all the eco-friendly practices you do, they're using AI to analyze all this data, and they might be providing your product as a recommendation to that shopper. Shopify also offers better search functionality within stores to help customers find a product that they're looking for within a specific seller's store. With Etsy, it's also improving search and discovery of new products similar to Shopify. It's managing and suggesting pricing strategies to you as the seller. And it's also helping you optimize your listings to match buyer search patterns. And I've seen this happen where there will be automatic emails sent out by Etsy's kind of AI saying, your product listing could be doing better, and here's why. And it's not written by a person, it's written by an AI. But again, they're helping you optimize your listings and your product descriptions. With Facebook, it's personalizing shopping experiences to make the product recommendations, so similar to the other two. And with Instagram, especially, it's helping to create visual search, and you can see an item that's in a fixed picture, maybe it's a handbag or a pair of shoes, and then easily buy that item in Facebook shops. So it's using AI to identify items and help people quickly buy them. And at Amazon, they're using the AI to use customer data to provide search recommendations, and as the seller, helping you forecast demand and manage your inventory. So were these things happening, before AI? Yes, they were. But I think most people agree they had left a lot to be desired. And so the AI is really just making these types of things more intuitive and easier to use. And that's why all these platforms are focusing a lot on AI of the next couple of years. So next we're going to talk about how do you launch your store and maximize your profits. The first thing we'll cover is how do you set up your payment methods. And then I'll show you how to preview test and publish your online store. And lastly, what will you do to follow up with an online selling specialist or an advisor around 4 to 6 weeks after, just to see how well you're doing and to get some new and fresh ideas for the future. So the first thing is, how do you set up your payment method? Well, with any online shopping, you have multiple options of how you're going to take your credit card processing and how you're going to get paid. And there's different options because one can be cheaper than others depending on your unique circumstances. So there's not one always best option here. But these are your main choices, just so you're aware and you can make the best decision. So you're typically going to pay around 1% plus 10 cents per transaction, all the way up to 3% plus 30 cents per transaction, depending on your bank, the other person's bank, the networks in between, and a lot of different variables. The three most popular ways to accept payments. The first one is the merchant account and payment gateway. In this case, you'd partner with a bank, could be Wells Fargo, Chase, any of the big ones, and they will accept payments for you on your website and channel the money into your business bank account with them. The banks obviously push this, they like this, they make a little bit more fees doing this way. The second way is the payment gateway package. In this case, there'd be a third-party piece of software which will connect your store's shopping cart to the credit card processing network and to the bank you use. A good example of this would be WooCommerce, which is a plugin for the WordPress platform. And some of you might be familiar with WordPress. You might already have your website on WordPress. And WooCommerce is the most popular e-commerce platform on WordPress. So that is a package that does all of these things, and they take a small fee for that. And the last one is a simplified credit card processing. In this situation, you use a service that integrates with your store's checkout. So Shopify is so big, they built out their own credit card processing gateway. And so if you opt to use that, they'll charge you a 0% credit card processing fee, as I mentioned before. However, keep in mind, it's not like they're losing 2%. They are making that up in other ways with their sellers and buyers. So you're still paying them. You're not getting everything for free, but they do give you a 0% credit card processing fee. So again, depending on your unique setup, any one of these could be the most cost-effective solution for you. Next, you want to preview, test, and publish your online store. Before launching it, you want to make sure you find any problems with it before your customers do, because you don't want to lose any sales. So when you're previewing it, what you should do is make sure your checkout process works. So you can do this if you're on Shopify or Amazon or your own website. And if you're selling on multiple places, it's a good idea to check this in each of the places. And you want to purchase a product yourself, just pretend you're a customer, make sure that you get the notification emails you've set up, both as the seller and the buyer. You can also do refund yourself, so you don't end up paying, and you can check that the refund process works. And secondly, make sure your store's buttons work. So buttons to the checkout page, buttons to the product categories. It's easy when you have a lot of links and a lot of buttons to have one go to the wrong place or just have a bad link and you'll get an error message. So make sure you find those first. Lastly, check all of your content. Make sure grammar is 100%. Make sure all images are loading quickly. If you notice you have a page and one image loads slowly in stages, you can kind of see it loading in chunk. It's an indication that you probably forgot to shrink that or optimize that image, and it's still a very large file size. So you want to identify that image, shrink it, and then replace the image on the website with the optimized version. And lastly, it's a really good idea to follow up with an advisor, especially if you're starting on e-commerce selling for the first time. there's a lot to learn. You're building websites, you're uploading product descriptions, taking photos. There's a ton to go over. A lot of people can feel overwhelmed when they're just getting started. So it's a good idea to talk to somebody who has gone through this before. The SBDC is a great resource. We have advisors in multiple different fields and categories, like myself with e-commerce and digital marketing, and others in different functional areas. So if you want to meet with the SBDC or somebody else, discuss with them, did you meet your sales and revenues goals in the first month? What feedback did you receive from your customers online? What products sold the best and the worst? And what new ideas do you have for products to sell online now? Also, you should talk about what you learned from your competitors. I don't think you should ever be idle there. You should always be looking at what they're selling, what new products they had come out in the last month or so, what their descriptions are. Are they selling with videos? The trends for selling online change so rapidly, maybe even every 6 months, that it's just good to be aware of what you see working out there. And taking all that into consideration, what are you going to try to do differently going forward now that you've gathered all this data and learned all this about your target market? So that concludes the presentation, and now I'd be happy to take your questions, and I hope that this was valuable information to you. And hopefully, if you have some questions, I will also be able to answer them and provide some good insights.
We did have a couple questions drop in, Cameron. Thank you. The first one was, and this was back when you were talking about the selling platforms, which one of these would be good for print on demand items like books, apparel, etc.?
That's a great question. So some of them are definitely not set up for that at all. Amazon's not really set up for that at all. The one that comes to mind first is Shopify, because as I mentioned, Shopify has kind of an app store marketplace, and some of those are focused on print on demand. So Shopify natively, just out of the box, I don't think they have that feature, but it is something I've seen people integrate with very easily through any number of third-party printing shops that have kind of decided they're going to partner with Shopify. So the short answer is I look at Shopify first. It does depend a little bit about what you're trying to print. If it's just t-shirts and mugs, I think Shopify will work fine. But if you're trying to print different items, you might run into limitations. If you do run into limitations, then the best option that you can always fall back on is your own website. So you can have absolutely any kind of print on demand on your own website, and of course customize that exactly how you need to sell effectively. So Shopify would be the quickest solution, but if that fails, then your own website is a good secondary.
So the next question, I sell only in the United States. Would it be possible to utilize Facebook and Instagram with that restriction?
So yes, it is. With any of these, you can specify where you will ship. And so you will just say United States. And that's a very common thing. A lot of people don't want to ship internationally. And so any of these e-commerce platforms, that'll just be one of the first options. Generally speaking, you can set it as a global policy for your entire store. And so you just need to do that once.
Great. Let's see, next question. What do you think is the best company to host your company basic website?
Sure. So I mentioned the basic level website you can often get for free, and I listed 3 different places that I think are pretty popular for that. You will be emailed this whole presentation, so all of those you'll get, but they're Wix, Weebly, and Squarespace. They all offer very, very simple, no frills websites, but can be sufficient for your first starter website for a business, especially if you don't care about actually having products for sale on the website.
Can you recommend any websites or companies that offer mock-ups of a product?
Well, that's a great question. I guess there's a lot of different products you could mock up. So there's not one website that does product mock-ups for any kind of category. If you did want to let us know what your product is, I might have an idea for that. But yeah, I need to know a little bit more specifics.
Okay, great. Let's see who asked that. Yeah, Shamika, if you could actually elaborate a little bit on in the Q&A box on that for Cameron, please, and we'll get that answered. Let's see. What type of platform do you recommend for headstones and memorials?
So if you're trying to sell headstones and memorials, honestly, I've never encountered that business, and so off the top of my head, I don't really know. I don't know if that's something being sold on Etsy. It is almost, it could be considered an artisan kind of handcraft thing if you're making them by hand. In which case, Etsy might be a place where people are buying those. But again, I don't know. I've never encountered that, so I'd have to do more research. If it's something that's a bit more of an industrial scale that you're talking about, not handmade, um, Amazon comes to mind. And again, I don't know that they sell those, but I don't see why they wouldn't. Um, so that's something to look into. But also, you might find that there's no platform really specifically tailored to help you sell that product. In which case, I think building out your own website would allow people to, I could see them inputting the text they want that gets sent to you. Maybe you have, again, maybe this is an automated process with machines, and that data could be sent right to the machine. It could start, milling that out of the stone. And this could all be automated, but not through a third party platform, only through your own website. Would that be possible? So it sounds a bit complex. If you'd like to talk to me more about that in detail, probably after this meeting, then let us know through the help email address here on the screen, and you can get in touch with me.
Great. And a follow-up, Shamika said, it's the books, the t-shirts, hoodies, etc. That would be what she was looking for mock-ups for.
Okay. Um, so sometimes when people are looking for a mock-up, they're looking for like a more of a 3D type thing. If you're just, you want just a 2D type of mock-up, yeah, there's no service that I've used recently that does mock-ups. I think one thing you could consider is that AI image generation is really sophisticated now, and you might be surprised that you could hop onto something like ChatGPT and say, make a mock-up of this book cover that has this text. You might get what you're looking for, and it would be very low cost or even free. But I don't have a specific recommendation of a business that would create those type of mock-ups.
Okay. Let's see. What about selling information products like newsletters and e-magazines? Any other consideration we should be aware of?
Yeah, so e-magazines, for example, typically again that's going to be a subscription, I would assume. So somebody would subscribe and get their monthly magazine. For that, you would need a website capable of providing subscription services. You can sell digital products on Shopify. You can even sell them with a subscription package. Shopify charges you, I think last time I saw was around $80 a month to sell with subscriptions. But you could have a Shopify e-commerce website selling that digital product. But I do think you'd probably be better off building your own website for that because you won't pay $80 a month to Shopify, and you'll be able to really kind of customize the product page to probably get a higher conversion rate than Shopify would allow for something like a periodical.
Let's see. Can you recommend a best host to purchase the domain name from?
Yeah, that's a great question. Um, The best host that I have used recently is GoDaddy.com, which is GODADDY.com. I recommend them. They're very simple. They're very price competitive. They're not always the cheapest, but they often are the cheapest. And I think they're the largest domain. It's called the registrar, the person you buy it from. I think they're the largest in the world. So it's hard to go wrong with GoDaddy, and I do use them and recommend them a lot.
Okay. Let's see. So this person's a sports coach. Curious if you have recommendations for knowledge-based e-commerce, such as selling video instruction series or hosting member-only live streams. They're currently looking at YouTube and Substack to publish their content and build a community.
Okay. Well, if you're selling kind of a course, like an educational course, there are several platforms that are focused just on helping you do that. One is called Udemy, and one is called Coursera. And there are two of the largest out there for selling online courses. It sounds like that might be a good fit for you. So check out Udemy, which is Udemy, or Coursera. And I have experience with both of those. They're both really good and they're competitively priced. So one of those should be the best fit for you, I think.
Cameron, is it course? CO? Can you spell
Uh,
that? Just make sure.
I think it's Courscra, but honestly, I think I'd have to just Google that.
Okay.
It's Coursera.
Okay. Okay, so let's see, we had, so I'm not sure if this is a question for here. I'm gonna go ahead and read it. I've seen people who earn commissions on Amazon just by linking what they like to purchase. How can someone set up earn commissions on Amazon?
Hmm. Yeah, that's actually something I cover in the digital marketing. It's called Amazon affiliates. But yeah, so Amazon affiliates is, excuse me, is a way that you can, write a blog post linked to a product on Amazon. It has a unique tracking identifier. So if somebody clicks on your link, Amazon gives you, I think, around 5% commission, something like that. It can be pretty substantial. It's not really something that I specialize in helping businesses get into, but it's called Amazon affiliates. So I would just Google that, and there'll be instructions on how to become an affiliate. But again, I'm not an expert on that, so I just direct you to looking at the Amazon page.
Sure, sure. Okay, we currently don't have any other questions. So if you all think of anything, go ahead and drop it into the Q&A box while we can pick Cameron's brain. It's full of lots of good information. And Cameron, if you have any words of wisdom, I'll give you a chance to say those. We're only at 1 o'clock, so we still have some time.
Yeah, well, I think there's been great questions, and to everybody's points, I think it shows that selling online is a hugely important part of a successful business. There's many people trying to sell many different things, and so your approach is going to be always very different. So the principles I taught here should be applicable to about everybody. And as it comes to more detail of your specific needs, I would encourage you to reach out to the SBDC. You can ask to speak to me, or one of our other specialists can help give you the more tailored advice for you.
We had an anonymous attendee. Thank you so much for this great webinar. I agree. And Cameron, you always give great information.
Thank you.
So I don't see anything else dropping in. So I think we've covered it all. Again, as we mentioned before, you can email help at virginiasbdc.org and get help from an advisor, Cameron, or just give us some more information and we'll help you out. So I want to thank everyone who joined us today. And a reminder, you're going to receive a link to that will have an email that will have a link to the recording and the slides. So don't worry if you didn't write everything down. If you would like to sign up for upcoming webinars or access recorded webinars, please visit virginiasbdc.org/training. You can sign up for a free and confidential session by emailing help@virginiasbdc.org or via our website. We do hope to see you at our next session, and I guess that would be February 25th. And until then, we hope you have a great rest of your month and beginning of February. Take care, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.